Okay. So let me back up to myself, Carolyn, and Sylvia getting to go to Florida in June last year. We get to go to Disney World. It was fantastic, but we also had to go to some workshops during the times we were there. And they were Marzano, we were Marzano Ed. And what we decided to come together, what we took from all of our workshops that we attended was that everything tied into rigor. Every workshop we attended with myself, Carolyn, and Sylvia, when we came back together at the end of the day, they really focused all on rigor. And that even ties into our new evaluation tool. If you look at our evaluation tool, he really focused in more on rigor, how the teacher is utilizing rigor and how the students are utilizing that knowledge from the rigor that is being taught in the classroom. And in the two elements especially, which was helping students examine their reasoning and helping students engage in cognitively complex tasks, are the two elements that really focus on that rigor work. Moving on from that. I'll go back. I have been in education now for about 15 years or so. Carolyn has been in it for a little bit longer. Sylvia's been in it for a long time. This word is not new. This word sends chills down everyone's spine. If I ask what rigor is, some people can answer, some people have different definitions of it. In 15 years, we still don't have a real good understanding of what it is. However, our job, what we wanted to do was today, and it's the dry part of this, the next one's a little bit more hands-on, but to give you the why behind why do we need rigor and the what and how we're defining rigor as it is right now. So one of the things that we found, and I thought it was funny because what is rigor? Like, what is it? And if you ask teachers, I think many of us, including myself, have been in this situation.
Oh my gosh, rigor is, what is rigor?
Put me on the spot.
It would be, for me, my own opinion would be,
Oh, you want us to do it now? Oh. Are you serious?
Rigor is the use of academic standards and application of precise
Do
tests.
you mean rigor mortis?
Okay, so when you hear this word, how many of you have been in that boat? If I were to do the same thing, we would be in the same boat because really, how do you define it? How do you define it for your students, for your classroom? And we're hoping to give you a little bit of that today. So for those of you, I'm going to go back. For those of you that just came in, if you can get on your cell phone, this is going to be a little bit later on, and if you can text to the number 22333, that's who it's to. And in the message line, Carolyn Sand 806.
And then when you're done, just kind of turn to the person next to you and talk about what you do think rigor is. What do you think rigor is? So who wants to share? What is rigor in your mind?
It's a lot of the things we were talking about, like problem solving and thinking outside the box, and doesn't necessarily, it's something that they can't, it's not, there's not going to be a one right answer to. It's something where the kids are actually participating. It doesn't necessarily, I think a lot of people feel think rigor means it's something that's difficult or hard, but it doesn't have to be difficult or hard to be rigorous, but it just seems to get the kids really thinking, and it's not something they're just spitting back at you.
Great. Anybody else want to share? Rigor?
We kind of said it's something that you shouldn't be able to ask Siri for the answer for.
We said it are things that require the kids to dig deeper and not just give you that surface answer, but really think further.
Think beforehand.
And we were talking about that they, rigor are tasks that require higher levels on the taxonomy, like on Bloom's and Webb's, where they have to like analyze, synthesize, that sort of thing.
Fantastic. So we would have done a much better job.
We were much better. Okay, so here are some statements that are made. Are they true or false? Just read them to yourself.
About rigor.
About rigor.
So first one, lots of homework is a sign of rigor. Raise your hand if you agree with that. Rigor means doing more. Raise your hand if that's true. Rigor is not for everyone. Raise your hand if that's true. Providing support means lessening rigor. Raise your hand if that's true. Resources do not equal rigor. Raise your hand if that is true.
Right, so you're all very good. These are all common misconceptions. So let me go back about 10 years ago when I was still in the classroom. So I'm saying these stories just so I get it. I want you to know that I get it. So I'm back in the classroom and I'm doing a lesson, and rigor was the big word. It was the big word then, and at the time it was never being defined for us. So we had to figure out what rigor meant. So I designed my lesson, and an administrator comes in, and I'm like, oh, okay, great, administrators in here, I'm going to have them do more. I'm going to have them take that problem. It was a math problem. Okay, they're adding 3 plus 4, let's just say. I'm going to have them write a word problem using that problem. Fantastic, they're doing more. They can use it in a different way. Great, I had a rigorous lesson. Not so much. So then they tell me, I'm sorry, but it's not rigorous. What does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Doing more, having them do something more does not necessarily mean that it's rigorous. A lot of what some people think is rigor is all teacher directed. It is not. It is going back toward making it more student directed.
And for example, talking about lots of homework is a sign of rigor. So let's say that you assign 25 math problems for homework. For what purpose? If they can do 5 math problems correctly, can they do 25 math problems correctly? So what's the purpose of that? There really isn't any. There's no value in that. So we have to rethink how we're doing things, rethink the way we're structuring problems, restructuring the way we're thinking about homework, restructuring the way we think about classwork, all to bring in that rigor, which is not easy for some of us because we've been in the profession for a really long time and we're used to that. You know, let's give them 55 problems because that's great. Not so much anymore because in the society that we live in today and the tools that the kids have available to them, it's not necessary.
So what is rigor? The way we look at defining it, challenging, complex thinking. You're going to hear complex thinking. That is student facilitated. Depth of content, which encourages critical thinking. You're going to hear critical thinking a lot. Drawing conclusions and problem solving. And when you hear problem solving, that's not giving them a word problem, having them find that 3 + 4 is 7. It is actually giving them a problem to figure out and have that discussion and be creative and be critical and have debates, having a problem coming up with a solution.
The one thing that I want to mention too, Jackie mentioned this in the beginning. The part 2 of this is going to get into that how you do all that. So we're not negating that. This is the dry part. This is the why do we need it, you know, the behind the scenes type of, we've shifted in education. Why do we need this complex thinking? Why do we need rigor? So I don't want you to think that we're neglecting. Okay, so now what do I do? That's in part 2.
Right.
And this will be sent to us.
I believe that Scott has it up on the PD sites on the curriculum. Because Tim's videotaping it, which we didn't know. That's why we're not in video. I will understand that we're
Vibrate over here. Back in have a lot of together time over here. So basically this is saying, and what we're talking about throughout this presentation is that it's going from more teacher-directed, and we're starting to move. We can see it. We are starting to move in that direction of going from teacher-directed to having it more student-directed with a teacher facilitating it. And we're seeing that as administration throughout the classroom. It's a slow start. When I was teaching, I had a chalkboard still. And it's not that long ago. Chalkboard, we just got whiteboards in the classrooms. I had I didn't have a smart board. I wasn't one of the classrooms that had one. So I've never actually taught with a smart board. So when I watch you guys teach with a smart board, I'm blown away by that. Because I didn't have that to use. I had an overhead projector. So even when I was teaching rigor, I had to do it a lot differently, and it's even changed since then, and it's ever continually changed. So what are the students responsible for with respect to rigor? So these are the essential components that the student should have, that they are getting that rigor. Content acquisition, critical thinking, relevance. Is it relevant to them? Things that we talk about now that are relevant to them are not the same things that were relevant to us. Integration, how do you integrate it into other things that they're doing? Application. Application is huge. Are they able to apply the knowledge that you're giving them in different situations? That's a tough one. Long-term retention, again, is it just rote? Or do they actually retain that information, again, in order to apply the information and the knowledge that they're getting moving forward in other ways? And responsibility, the onus is on the student, again, to move towards that student-driven. And again, this isn't a more difficult does not mean rigor for the student, it's just more complex.
And even if we just talk about long-term retention, if you go back and think about the old spelling tests, and the students used to go home and they used to study the words, and we would give them 5 times each, in ABC order, all that fun stuff for homework, and then they'd take the test and then they'd forget it. Two days later, you would look in the writing and say, this was still on our spelling test and you're not spelling it correctly, because they were only memorizing it for the actual test. But look at now, we've introduced foundations. So now we're actually teaching phonics and spelling patterns in isolation, so then they can then apply it and put it in content. So there's a big difference, there's that huge shift there where we're memorizing for a test or we're learning for long-term retention.
And you want to remember too, it's for all students can use Rigor. It doesn't have to just be the high-level kids. And a special ed kid who can barely read can use Rigor. They're just going to use it in a different way, and they're going to chime in a different way. And a lot of the Rigor activities are group activities. They're not doing the work individually, they're working together when they complete the activities. So therefore you can bring in a lower level learner with the higher level kids, and they learn from each other, not just by themselves. And then when they apply it, they'll learn something, and you'll see it from how they applied it, and then a different kid will apply it a different way.
So what does that mean for you? One of the best things that you could do to start, even just to start adding rigor, we're not saying you have to have that rigorous lesson tomorrow. One of the ways, we're trying to give you ways in order to provide more rigor in your classroom, you can start with the way you question your students. It's one of the hardest things to ask them to think about and ask those higher level questions, but if you start there at how you question your students, then that's your first start. For instance, again, I'll use myself as an example. You're going to think I was the worst teacher in the world. I'm a little bit better at this. It was comfortable for me because I got that, oh, they knew the answer. For me to ask them a simple question, they gave me the right answer. That made me feel fantastic that they knew what I just spit out to them. However, if you continue to ask them and challenge them, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, and I think someone said it at the beginning of what rigor is, it doesn't have to have an answer. It doesn't have to have a right answer, but if you elicit debate and questioning and discussion, one of the best ways to start adding that rigor into your classroom. Again, making the instruction relevant to them now, things that are relevant to them now, engaging them, and you can engage them in all different ways. These students need a lot of different things to engage them, especially in the time of technology that we're in. Always addressing the different learning styles. I think we do a very good job here of doing that. Having them self-challenge, have that motivation come from within.
And you self-challenge yourself.
And the adaptability for the student. So you can read this. Rigor is not defined by the text. It comes from what students do. It is not standard across the curriculum. It is individual to each student's needs. It is not quantified by how much gets crammed into a school day. It is measured in the depth of understanding. Rigor is a result, not a cause. I think that's very meaningful. You are inundated, and I see it every day, of what you have to get done, what you have to get done, what you have to get done. And our hope is that you can do it in a different way to make it more meaningful for the student. And again, rigor, I think the rigor is a result, not a cause, is huge. How students retain and understand information and how they apply it equals rigor. And again, result is not a cause. So do we really need it? And I know, oh my goodness, I have all this to do every day. I am challenging my students. I'm getting in there with them. Do we really need it? What is it actually doing? And I like the quote, do not confine your children to your own learning, for they were born in another time. And this video that we have really opened my eyes to the time that we're in.
Let's suppose that you're writing a really important email to a colleague.
for a second. See if I can get it to go back for. I wrote a story in my book. My teacher read it. That's it. His teacher read it. He posted online, 2,000 people read it. Before we move on from here, I just want to mention something. I was actually talking to Tim the other day, and we were talking about his STEM class, and he was saying that he doesn't see the behaviors in his class that some of the other people are seeing. What do you think the one reason why is? They're engaged. They're working with their hands, they're using their minds, they're being creative. When kids are engaged and they're allowed to use their imagination, a lot of the problems that you see start to decrease. Because we're in the 21st century with students who have information coming to them constantly. If we continue to teach in the way we did 2, 5, 10 years ago, we're going to lose them. Because they have access to information like that. So that's why we have to put the rigor in to make them think, to make them be creative, and to engage them. And I just thought that video really summed that up and kind of put it into perspective for us, that they were born in a different world than we were born in. And they have access to all these, technological advancements that some of us are afraid of. But we have to get into that, think outside the box, go outside of our comfort zone to try to bring that stuff into the classroom.
Right, and when I watch this video, it really takes me out of my cushy teacher comfort zone box. And it scares me a little bit, so I can only imagine being in the classroom and having to do this. But how did it make you feel? How did that, watching that, and that's probably a couple years old now, so it's even further technologically advanced now. How does that make you feel now with your students in your classroom watching this?
I remember, I don't know if it was Dr. Neal, but someone said that the kids that we have today are going to have jobs that haven't even been thought of yet. Like, no one knew there were going to be YouTubers, so how do we prepare kids for that, something which we don't even know what it's going to be. So incorporating that is going to help them. So it's just, these are skills that they are going to need and to be successful just in life.
Right. Anyone else?
I feel that the kids feel a lot of people very bored easily, and you can kind of see that they do things on their electronics all the time. They want that to be incorporated.
Instant gratification for them now. Look at text messaging. Like, how many of you have and you're addicted to it? And you send that text and you keep looking to see, did they text me back? That's how it is for the kids. It's the same way in the classroom. Like, they want the information like this.
They don't want to sit at their desk, they don't want to write, they don't want to read out of a book. And yes, there's a place for that. But the point being that they are growing up in such a different time that we kind of have to adapt to that.
This weekend, Joanne and I were in Harrison Township Schools, my friend works there. We went to a Chrome camp, and it was very interesting for us because in third grade, not having access to Chromebooks and seeing what they were introducing to their students, we felt like, oh my gosh, we have so much to learn. It's exciting and it's overwhelming at the same time, but I guess our biggest thing was, we thought, wow, we need to get trained or jump into some kind of I'm sure fifth grade is probably far ahead of us, but it was definitely eye-opening. Some of the stuff they talked about, we didn't even know what it was, or we didn't even hear of the contraptions they were using, or their extensions and things that they were, like, oh my gosh.
Right. Well, even some of the, I work with fifth grade teachers over here that have the Chromebooks. How many of you really think you're utilizing them to the best of their ability? And a lot of it would be probably because you're uncomfortable with it. Because maybe the kids know more. But that's okay. That's okay.
They know a lot more. I was in the office at dismissal, and a parent came in and, had a problem with an app on their phone, and they're standing there and they're fumbling through it, and the child came in, and the parent said, "Here, can you fix this? I can't get this app to work." And it was the Waze app, the GPS app, and we couldn't get it to work, we couldn't get it to find, and the child took it, and okay, now we know where we're going. It's crazy what they can do and what they're comfortable with, and what they know. I was also in a classroom. They were talking about pioneers in the classroom, and I can't remember what question came up, but the student said, "How did the pioneers know where to go without GPS?" And I'm like, wow, great question. That was a great opportunity to elicit that discussion, and they didn't know about maps and how they got around the moon and the stars and all that stuff that they used to use to find out where they're going. So it's amazing to see where they are as opposed to what we think that they know.
And, not to digress, because we are digressing. But, sometimes I go into classrooms and I see with the writing and the kids are writing, get the Chromebook out. Let them write on a Chromebook. That is second nature to them. And then there are so many other extensions that you can add onto that to start providing that more rigorous environment for them. They can start, exchanging. They call Google Classroom. They can talk and they can communicate and they can blog and all kinds of stuff that you're bringing in the writing to make things more engaging for them. But that's in the house.
That's a work question for us.
This is still a bar.
Is that something that maybe for in-services that would be looked at? Because, even with third grade getting Chromebooks, something like that on how to utilize the technology. Because like we said on Saturday, there's so many different things that we were like, wow, you can do this, but we don't know how to do that. Just watching that video when they're talking about, blogging or the podcasts or, if we don't know how to do that, you want to be an expert in
I'm
it.
sure we can set up this type of volunteer piece for all that. You just ask and we can see if people are willing to. But don't forget your kids are a resource. Let them teach you.
Yeah.
Let them teach you. That's, again, real-life application for them in the classroom.
I would love to do a blog in my class, but are we allowed to do that without parent permission because it is going out online?
Yeah, we would have a parent because we have the device usage policies and stuff, so we would have to visit participation and signatures and all of the.
Okay, so if we start that, we have to do the whole process of having them sign and say it's okay they do this. Okay.
The struggle that I have with rigor and hands-on activities, the population of students that I have, I would love, and I looked into doing blogs one year, and I looked into a lot of those different ideas, but the behaviors that I have with my students, And then we have to get them ready to take the benchmark, take the part, take the start, take the, like, if we could just say, okay, I'm teaching these particular standards and I'm gonna do wikis or blogs or podcasts or whatever, that would be awesome. But then they also have to do a large amount of writing, a large amount of analyzing, a large amount of, and like I struggle with how to do that and integrate it at the level that my kids are. And then I understand that behaviors go away when they're engaged because I've seen that. But then they have wikis and blogs and they're sending each other stupid things like Jeffy and.
Well, you just have, you're gonna have rules, you're gonna have to lay that foundational, you know, these are the rules and these are the consequences and this is, you know, how we move forward. But you can still get all of the information that you need in through that, it's just a different medium. You can pose a question to them on a blog that they have to answer, and it's related to the standards, which is more exciting than going in the book and searching for an answer. You know, they can use the internet, they can use their resources, they can talk to one another, you can stem and branch out from those conversations, instead of boxing them into what is the capital of, you know, like, have those open-ended discussions with them to get them to think.
This is a thing for third grade, like, last year, fifth grade, we were self-contained and we taught everything, and it was very overwhelming to jump into Chromebooks because you're like, oh, I can do this for reading, and oh, about science, and oh, about this, and you were like, so this year, being compartmentalized and being a little bit more focused to make it a little bit easier, but start small, is what I would say, you know, because you want to do great things in all your subject areas, but it gets very overwhelming.
I was just
So,
gonna say that, like, just choose one part. Just your entire lesson, the minute it starts and the minute have to be this huge, rigorous, fantastic. No. Pick something. Just like she said, if you want to pose a question and utilize that, put it on the Chromebook or have them be interactive with it, just start there. It doesn't have to be, you know, and try it. And if that works, great, then you can build on that. But maybe just starting somewhere. And if you're looking at why does it matter and just reading this, it's getting comfortable with the uncomfortable. One of the hardest things I do is try to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and I try to do things a lot that I'm uncomfortable with. Carolyn forces me to do it all the time, that I'm comfortable with. However, that's what we want our students to do, and that also forces us to do that.
And we're each other's support. If you have a good activity, share it with someone on your team. I know Stephanie helped the fourth grade team with Google. We all went to her classroom and she showed us all different things you can do with Google on the Chromebooks. And that will help you guys next year too. Or if you have a question, ask fourth or fifth grade. Just help each other out.
So this is just, we just found this interesting, you know, the case for rigor. When students were polled, their answers were interesting. There should be help for students who are having trouble, which we're doing now with our comment time supports. We do that all through the RTI. They wanted, 81% of students wanted more real world learning opportunities. That's how you engage them. Is it relevant to them? If it's not relevant to them, they don't really care. This is our high school dropouts. We're preparing them for college. And I know that's funny when you're saying to a kindergarten teacher, oh, we're preparing them for college. But we really are, and their careers. And 47% said classes weren't interesting. 69%, they weren't motivated to work hard. Kids can do a lot more than you think. Push them, raise the bar. They can do it.
It's the same. Start small with rigor. Start with one little activity and then just build on that. Don't go for the full kick-a-boo.
Yeah. I mean, I happen to use Chromebooks with the writing. We're researching right now, and it just seems like when they start to apply, you know, they're writing, and it's just rough draft they're working on right now. They've done, we're working through the planning stage, and like when I see words not capitalized, proper nouns and that, I just think, how do you write Mount Rushmore without a capital M and a capital R? So therefore, I wonder about the application. I think, well, are they applying their skills? I mean, does that matter anymore?
It does matter, that's one of the things we said, like, that they should be able
And they're
to
not.
apply what
And
they're
I think
learning.
that is the key, is to be able to apply their knowledge. And it seems to make.
It's that long-term retention. And, you know, when we just do the rote memorization of things, there is no long-term retention for that. There isn't. I think about, you know, when I took my tests and stuff, you were just memorizing vocabulary words, you were memorizing dates. I can't remember any of those things because it didn't matter to me. And I was never going to use them again in my life. So if it's not relevant to them and it doesn't matter in the long term, and you're just asking them to memorize, like, it's not going to work. There has to be application behind that.
I absolutely agree with that, but how do you get that application?
So that's actually part of this. So
That's what I
if you
want.
can turn and talk, why are we right now not all the time, because again, we're seeing it. We just want to be able to provide you the opportunity and to learn how to integrate it into your classroom. So we are seeing it, so it's not like it's not happening. But at this point, why are we not reaching rigor? If you can turn and talk with your neighbor.
Because if you go back to what we're talking about, when we're talking in this leadership team about our observations and we're reviewing our observation data, and it comes to that element where it's complex thinking, like that. We're not hitting that enough because we're not seeing it enough. So we want to get to that point where when we go into classrooms, we're seeing a level of rigor. We're talking about critical thinking. We're engaging our students. We're posing those open-ended questions. Because that's the area that we're still not hitting enough of to move us into that next level of achievement. We're getting there because we're seeing great things, but we're not quite there. Right, so why do you think we're not reaching rigor? What can we say?
I think sometimes the students are afraid to try, even though you encourage them. Like, if you're looking for something, like, it's like if you have a different answer, like we were doing estimating today, and it's like one student gave an answer, and it's like, oh, mine must be wrong because that's not my answer. And it's like, and then it's like, no, what were you thinking? Why are you thinking that? And like to encourage that, like if you have a different answer, as long as you can justify it and say what you were thinking, like that's awesome. You know,
Right,
you're
that's
being
fantastic.
independent thinker.
You just have to continue to foster that. Just foster, it's okay. Share why you think that's the answer, how you got that answer.
We were actually working on summarizing today. We were reading, to tie in with social studies, we were reading an Abraham Lincoln article and working on summarization with the kids, and we were trying to pull them to come out with a deeper answer than just like
he was a great president, like
why?
why is he respected? Why is he admired?
Say no, give us more, but it's not enough. Keep going, keep going. And they finally were like, a couple of them.
You can see their
face, and they go, "This is
Really hard.
We said, yeah, and we said we want more from you.
And that's fantastic.
We said this
That
is not
fantastic.
enough. The
It's not
basic
enough
answers are
anymore.
not enough
Right.
anymore.
That's great. I mean, just keep doing that because they're not comfortable with that.
They want
either,
the
because
easy
they're
answer. Yeah, they want the
used to
easy stuff.
those questions.
Yeah.
You know, they're used to just a one word or one sentence canned response. They're not used to thinking.
And I had a parent question me last night on my science test because, I did give them the 14 vocabulary, and then I gave them 4 completely open-ended, and you had to apply what you learned and explain what was going on. And I just gave him a concepts fraction, and he had a 1 out of 4. And I said, well, she said, how can I study? I said, you really can't study. I said, he has to listen and take part in group activities. I said, we did this activity, we did that activity. We've gone over it numerous times, and it's applying what you learned. And then I told her, and then get used to that in the future. Like my daughter's a freshman, and she's applying everything that she learns in physics. She's not just doing whatever force equals speed times motion and filling in numbers. They're applying and they're making things. And then that's what their test was, and he had a hard time with that. And so that's what I told her. And then I told her, look at the dojo pictures and tell them to explain what's going on. Find a picture and explain what's going on. And I said, this is the way of the future, this is rigor. And I said, this is a perfect conversation because I have to talk about this tomorrow.
And what's great too is like, Jenna, what you and Amy said, that's fantastic. Like that's what we want to have more of. And don't be afraid to ask them more questions. Don't be afraid to pull information out of them. Don't be afraid to go off script. Take those teachable moments and run with them if you can. Don't worry. If an administrator comes in, we're going to see what's happening. It's a natural progression in the child's learning. Run with that. Take risks. Become comfortable. And the only way to do that is to challenge yourself and take the risk to do that.
I'm going to be the bad guy here because I was voted to be the bad guy. On my row. But what you just said that we shouldn't be afraid of is what we're all afraid of.
Don't be afraid of
No.
Right.
I think I'm speaking for
Yeah,
a lot of what's going on. I think we're terrified that the minute we go off on a tangent, which may be a very, very valuable teachable moment, that someone's going to walk in and say that we're not, I'm being a jerk.
I totally understand.
You're not on your lesson plan, you're doing something that's not in the standard for this grade level, or this, that, or the other thing.
Here's the thing.
I stopped in the middle of something wonderful today. Literally, this is a true story. My kids are so excited about this essay. Really? Okay. They really are. And all of a sudden, in the midst of all this wonderful, everybody was working and doing all kinds of great, fabulous things, I went, oh, I forgot to put my scale on the board. And just like, stopped dead.
And that's natural. So let me answer that with a teacher hat and an administrator hat. So with the teacher hat, I would say you have to have those teachable moments. That's where you're going to get great conversation. That's where you're going to engage the students. Do it. Don't be afraid to do it. As long as you're still relevant within administrator hat, your target and your scale, and you can relate the conversation to that, you're still in the Marzano realm. If you digress off to, okay, we're doing that now, it totally doesn't even pertain to anything that you're talking about. That might be a different story.
Right.
But you're most likely going to go off topic, still within the topic, still within that scale, still within that target. Don't be afraid to do that. That's where the art of teaching is. You have to be able to bring that in, or it's just going to be like robots.
I like the art.
I like the art of teaching too.
Science, I like that.
This is the Marzano taxonomy scale. Where do you think we are? Where do you think most of us are? On what level?
During past retrieval.
Right. We are. We're on retrieval. We're what's 5 plus 4 equals 9. 9 plus 9 equals 18. And the goal is to try and move up the ladder, work on some comprehension, work on analysis, and then the last step would be knowledge utilization.
I mean, wait, go back for a second. We actually do. We live. They're trying to speed it up. Stop talking around. We do live around here.
Right.
We live around here, but we need to visit up there.
So, we spent different times sit down and we organize. We're moving fast. How much do you use yourself? So we need to think about, I said at the beginning, complexity versus difficulty. Difficulty is different than complex. Complex establishes thought, where difficulty just is effort. And you need both, but we really are focusing on.
I just sit at the kitchen table and do 55 math problems.
So we need to get our students to practice using information at higher levels and applying, so that applying piece of it is huge. So this is an example of a third grade multiplication lesson in.
It's another great day at Lockhart Elementary School in Wake County, North Carolina. Students in Mrs. Hunt's third grade classroom are excited and ready to continue their innovative work that is redefining rigor, assessment, and accountability. In this class, after learning each math lesson, students are challenged to reteach and record what they learned, adding their own spin on the information. Once the students have completed a standards-based lesson, for example about multiplication, they are directed to go to the back of the room to gather one whiteboard and a dry erase marker. They return to their desks and begin creating their lessons by adding handwritten information to the boards. Since students will be reteaching the information, they are thoughtful about how much to put on the board, what vocabulary to use, and what examples they need to include to best illustrate the content. While the students are working, the teacher sets up a tripod and whiteboard stand in the hallway, right outside the door, and simply uses her cell phone to record these one-take lecture videos. When a student has completed his or her board and is ready to teach their lesson, they step into the hallway, place the board on the stand, and press record on the cell phone. Then they sit down and teach the lesson, referencing the information they included on their board. When they are done, they simply press stop and their one-take lecture video is complete. The next student sets up and prepares to teach their version of the lesson, and this process continues until all the students have had a chance to record. Then, the teacher takes the cell phone and plugs it into the computer so the videos can be reviewed and uploaded to a playlist. Mrs. Hunt pulls up a few examples that are reviewed by the whole class, and then explains to the students how she wants them to use a rubric to independently evaluate their work and the work of their peers. The students are assigned to watch a few videos, including their own. The rubric requires that they look closely at what is good about the lesson, but also how each could be improved. They look for content-related issues such as correct use of vocabulary and use of appropriate examples. In addition, they are required to evaluate how well the information is communicated, looking for quality of the speaking voice and overall confidence in the presentation.
Think about parent conferencing. How powerful is it to actually have the students' work to be able to pull up and show the parents what the child has mastered, what they're proficient at, or what they need help with, and how they can help them at home.
I absolutely love watching my child the math videos because she understands them, and when she's at home, she's actually teaching me.
Teaching is the most rigorous form of learning, and in Mrs. Hunt's classroom at Lockhart Elementary, the students are also the teachers.
I think it's good for teachers to use this strategy because it's a creative way for children to show what they know.
This transparent classroom provides us a glimpse into the future of teaching and learning.
When I make these videos, I can see what my problems are and what I need to do to fix them.
Okay, so we're going to kind of amend this question a little bit. This is where we get to take our poll. So we're going to amend this a little bit because we're running out of time and we have a lot more things on here. So what in that video kind of shows rigor? What are some things that you saw that you thought, or you didn't like it at all? So just kind of comment about the video. Send us a comment. What'd you think? Send us a comment. On your phone, text it to that, when you got that, Yep, what you thought about it.
Can you use this with a Chromebook, Carolyn?
I think so.
This, yes.
Is the poll's not open yet?
Yeah.
Is it open?
We're just texting it, right?
Yep.
So I guess to the same thing we did before?
Yep.
It just says that you have to open a poll.
Okay, go ahead, try again. There we go.
Did you get that?
Activated.
Yeah.
It's just, the reason we put this in here, honestly, is it's just another way that you can do things with your kids. You know, that
How do you get 2, 2, 3, 3, 3? How do I get?
when you sign up for, when you sign up for poll, it's called Poll Everywhere,
Okay.
it automatically generates a number for you to join.
But how do I get?
So the kids could use their Chromebooks to do that.
Yeah.
I have
I mean, that's what we
Like you mean for your classes, how do you get it?
Poll is full and then we're
So, and this is where you could start having some conversation with your students. Like the video the children made was great. However, what does the teacher do for the child that needs more support and would have trouble explaining what they know? Talk about it. What would you do? Like talk to your table, you know, talk to your partner. What would you do in that situation? What do you think you could do to help them? Like applying that to what a kid would be talking about. But this just starts a conversation, just another tool.
It's easier for them to do like a concrete concept. Right. How do kids teach them like a reading skill? They loved it. They loved like researching and doing it, but their presentations weren't really.
Well, they need to practice that. That's something you just have to work on.
Yeah, like one was really good and one was really bad, and then.
Well, it wasn't really bad, it was they were learning. And then you talk about them, you know, you plan back, you talk about them, you analyze them. But you know, what I thought was neat about this as well, for all the parents who say, I don't get it, I don't understand what they're doing, I don't know how to do that, Matt. Send them the video. Here's your child explaining how to do it. How powerful is that? You know, I would be excited as a parent if I got that. how would struggling students handle the feedback? You'd have to monitor that. That's why they're doing it on paper. You would kind of monitor what feedback you would give to the students, but you also have to teach that. You have to teach kids how to give effective feedback.
Carolyn, do you only for cell phones?
But you can do it on your Chromebook, I'm pretty sure there's a...
This mode, I've seen this in classrooms and other places that I've worked, use this, so asking the question and having the students respond because they're responding anonymously. So those students in your classroom that don't want to or are scared to participate, or like myself, don't like being on camera, or they have an answer, it may not be correct, but it allows them to say their answer. And then you can have that discussion. So this is really good for posing questions for students to answer and honestly, no one would ever know whose question was unless of course your student doesn't get it. But I thought it was a good forum for that.
So we're gonna jump off through that because we did digress a little bit, but we do hope that it was productive conversation when we did digress. If you'd like to join us for our part 2, we have a K-3 and a 4-6 on the actual activities, how this would look in your classroom and actually doing and using activities. Thanks everybody. Thank you.